Hello, welcome to Culture TV and to our online program, Let's Speak Russian. This is lesson 15. So in this lesson, we're going to extend our knowledge of verbs and verb conjugation, and we'll be applying it to different verb forms. You'll find out what I mean by that in just a moment. To start off, let's just do a little bit of practice. I'm going to give you some phrases in English to try to translate into Russian. So here's the first one. How would you say, "What are you doing" in Russian? Or "What do you do?" I'd like you to use informal address in this example. Yes, that would be "Что ты делаешь?" Что ты делаешь? So we have что, our interrogative pronoun, what, and then it's simply you do. What you do. We don't need to alter the word order or anything, it just stays as it is with the question word coming at the start. Remember that we also need to raise our tone slightly at the end, just as we would do in English. Что ты делаешь? What are you doing? Let's answer this question now. How would you say I work or I'm working? Good, that would be я работаю. Я работаю. Okay, now let's ask the same question, what are you doing? But now we're going to use formal address. What would you say? Excellent. Что вы делаете? Что вы делаете? And now the answer is going to be I'm running. How would you say that? Я бегаю. Я бегаю. Excellent, that's very good. Okay, so now let's talk about these different forms of verbs. This is quite an abstract concept and it doesn't really exist in any grammar textbooks, but this is still very important and you definitely have to be able to use it properly. So, whenever we're communicating an action, so whenever we're using a verb, there are three aspects or three forms to this verb that could exist. We can either affirm the action, so state that it is happening, we are positive about the action, or we can negate the action, so we can say that it is not happening, or we can question the action, so we can interrogate. So these are the three forms of verbs, the affirmative, the negative, and the interrogative form. So in the affirmative form, if we take the infinitive, then nothing changes, it's just the infinitive. Играть, for example, this means to play. Играть. To turn it into a negative form, in Russian we have to add on this не particle. Не. And не literally just means not. Не играть. Not to play. And finally we have the interrogative form. Играть. Играть. To play. So with infinitives, this doesn't really work. We don't normally just ask a question that consists of one infinitive verb. But the point is that we just add on a question mark and raise our voice slightly. Let's now see what happens when we take the conjugated form of these verbs. If we're affirming, we will say Я играю. Я играю. I play. This is literally what we've been talking about in the last few videos. Now, if we want to say that I don't play, in Russian it's very simple. We're just going to take this не and we're going to put it in between the pronoun and the verb. So, я не играю. Я не играю. I don't play. And if we want to ask the question, so do I play in Russian, again, we don't need to change the word order or anything. It's just going to be the tone of the voice. Я играю. Я играю. Do I play? Alright, so this is the system of verb forms. Nothing too complicated. Again, this is formally not really called anything. You won't find this online or in grammar textbooks, probably. Most of the time you just learn about it without knowing that this is what it is. So yes, hopefully nice and straightforward. Let's now practice this a little bit. I'd like to show you a new verb first of all that we'll be using for the rest of this video, and that will be плавать. Плавать. And плавать means to swim. So why don't you pause the video now and try conjugating it. Okay, so you should have я плаваю, I swim. Ты плаваешь, you swim. Он, она, оно плавает, he, she, or it swims. Мы плаваем, вы плаваете, они плавают. Okay? So, now let's ask the question. Do you swim? Yeah, it's very simple. Ты плаваешь. Ты плаваешь. So we're literally taking the conjugated form that we saw just now, and we're adding a question mark and raising our voice at the end. Ты плаваешь. That's it. Let's answer this question and say, no, I don't swim. Нет, я не плаваю. Нет, я не плаваю. No, I don't swim. Okay, here's another one for you to try. How would we say, does he play well? Does he play well? Alright, so that would be он хорошо играет. Он хорошо играет. Hopefully you remember хорошо from lesson 11 where we looked at answering the question, how are you? Он хорошо играет. Let's now give an affirmative answer. Yes, he plays well. Да, он хорошо играет. Да, он хорошо играет. Okay, very good. Here's the next one. How would you say, do they know how to do this? Do they know how to do this? Pause the video now and think about how you would say this in Russian. Okay, so hopefully you have они знают, как это делать. Они знают, как это делать. Okay, so они знают, they know. Как, you should remember from the previous lesson, this means how. Это is this, and делать is to do. Do they know how this to do, basically? Alright, so let's answer this question and say, yes, they know how to do this. Да, они знают, как это делать. Да, они знают, как это делать. Very good. Okay, and finally we're going to create a very short dialogue. The first person is going to say, I think that they don't know this. I think that they don't know this. How would you translate this into Russian? Я думаю, что они это не знают. Я думаю, что они это не знают. Alright? Now this same person is then going to ask, what about you? What do you think? What is your opinion on this? Alright, now there are a few possibilities here. I was mainly looking for а ты как считаешь? А ты как считаешь? So if you remember, we saw считать in lesson 13, and it means, well, either to count, or its second meaning is to have an opinion about something, to believe. А we saw in lesson 11 as the equivalent of what about, and so that's how we get our question. А ты как считаешь? You could have also said, а ты что думаешь? Maybe just как ты считаешь? Ты как считаешь? All of these are fine. Word order in Russian is, on the whole, not that strict. Okay, now the other person is going to reply with the opposite. No, I think that they do know. How would we say this in Russian? А я думаю, что они знают. Or maybe нет, я думаю, что они знают. There we go. And in this case, the a is actually acting more like a conjunction but or and. We'll talk about this more in later videos. For now, it's not that important. The main thing, of course, is that we've got the они знают part as being an affirmation. Я думаю, что они знают. All right, and that will now conclude today's lesson. If you have any questions about anything we've covered today, then please feel free to ask in the comments. I'll see you next time in lesson 16. We're going to return back to some other rules to do with verb conjugation. In the meantime, do keep practicing all of this. It is really important to go through these verb conjugations regularly. You don't have to spend a lot of time going through them, maybe just 5 or 10 minutes a day. Again, the key is regularity. All right, thank you very much for your attention. See you next time. Goodbye.